In this presentation, we're going to be looking at an example of using Bloom's taxonomy to write effective learning outcomes. So let's dig into this. Now, we're going to be looking at Bloom's taxonomy. Now, when you go to write learning outcomes, it's important that you pick the words that you want to use. Now, here with Bloom's taxonomy, if you've tinkered with this very much or been in education very much, you've probably heard of it. The idea behind it is that there are different types of words, different types of language that you use to describe what you want students to be able to do. Now there's lower level words and higher level words. And that's a little bit of a judgment call. That's not necessarily that they're good or bad, but you need to be specific with what you want the outcome to be. So lower level stuff tends to be stuff like understanding, remembering, whereas some of the higher level stuff is like synthesizing information, looking at analysis. Now there's a more updated, this is a different version of Bloom's taxonomy. It's one that I actually prefer. I think the language is a bit more understandable. So here again, you've got like the lower level stuff, remembering and understanding, and then typically you want most of your learning outcomes to be in this upper area where you're applying, creating, evaluating, and analyzing. All right, so let's, there's a few good words and a few bad words I want to look at. So some of the good words typically have to do with words like analyzing, evaluating, creating, applying. Now, bad words that I don't like to see in learning outcomes, particularly if you're doing this like at a higher education level, are words like understand, remember, participate, or one of my all-time least favorites is the word appreciate. It's just how do you measure somebody's appreciation of something? You could ask them, do you appreciate this? But that's just not, you're not getting to very much depth of and meaning in the learning experience that they're having, even though you might be trying to. So if you're ever stuck on needing some words, you can do a Google search and find a document like this. Now here, this is action verbs that you can find, and this particular one breaks it down into knowledge, comprehension, application. So you get the lower level words over here. So there's words like that are lower level, could be arrange, define, describe, duplicate. Maybe some of the higher level words could be appraise, argue, assess, attach, choose, compare, conclude. You can see how that can lead to a higher level learning experience for students if you are intentionally choosing what you're going to measure. All right, let's move on and let's look at what should the outcome be. So I'm teaching a life skills class, and one of the things I want people to be able to do is to change a tire. So what should my learning outcome be if I want people to be able to change a tire? Well, if I'm going for lower level understanding, I could say something like memorize or list how to change the steps of changing a tire. Well, that would be nice, but just simply being able to recall a list of steps is not the depth that I'm looking for. I could go with understanding something. I could maybe have them explain how to change a tire, and that is likely that they would also be able to, if they can explain it, maybe they would be able to remember it as well. But really what I'm probably looking for is something where it's just applying. I want them to change a tire. Now I can also get into some of the higher level stuff that may or may not be appropriate for what I'm trying to do. Just because it's higher level doesn't mean that it's appropriate for my class. So I could say something like create a tutorial to help others change a tire. There's a really good chance if you create a tutorial that you've probably had to have changed a tire a few times and you've gone through the process enough that you're quite good at doing these lower level parts of changing a tire. It's just a question of whether or not the course should have that as the emphasis. So, or I could go to assess and recommend process improvements for changing a tire. Also good at analyzing and thinking through the entire process. That's certainly a higher level learning experience. But I really want to go with, I just want them to be able to change a tire. So the next test that I'm going to run this through is I like to run through this little check called SMART goals. So this is where you check your goal or outcome, whatever you want to call it, and make sure that it is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So let's go through that. Is change a tire specific? Now, really, it's not very specific, and maybe I don't need it to be terribly specific, but there's lots of different types of tires. There's lots of different types of vehicles. Am I talking about car tires, bike tires, semi-trucks? So I'm going to change that to change the tire of a car. Okay, now is it achievable? Well, what if I changed it to Change the tire of a car using your smile and good looks. Well, that's not very achievable to me. So I'm going to change that. That's also not very relevant to the course. Change the tire of a car using the tools in the car. And I'm going to then make it time-bound by saying change the tire of a car using the tools in the car within 30 minutes. Now, is this perfect? No, I could probably keep adding and tweaking just a few little things here and there, but this gets at the point of what I want to do for this particular class. And these are just a few little steps you can go through to help you begin to write really effective outcomes. And this is so important because in the further steps in the instructional design process, good outcomes usually lead to good courses. It leads to good instructional design. So I wish you luck with that, and I will talk with you more later.